Hey, it's Surfing Victorian Surf Report, Tuesday the 28th of July, 2026. G'day everyone, and check out the sea state today. This here is shot as of 7 o'clock this morning, and welcome back to Hey, it's Surfing. Well, yesterday gave us one of the cleanest surf days we've seen for a while, but today the weather starts to turn once again. A cold front is moving across Victoria, bringing strengthening northwesterly winds through the morning before a westerly change arrives later in the day. That means you've got a genuine window early if you're planning a surf, because conditions are expected to deteriorate as the front moves through. There's still plenty of fun waves this morning, but timing will be everything. Let's head around the Victorian coast. Statewide overview. The Bureau has a cold front crossing the state today. Across the central Victorian coast, northwesterly winds of around 20 to 30 kilometres an hour will turn westerly during the day, bringing scattered showers and cooler air behind the change. Along the coast, seas remain relatively modest, but the wind shift will quickly affect surface quality at exposed beaches. The remaining swell is a fading west-to-southwesterly groundswell, with periods still carrying enough energy to produce quality waves on the exposed coast before the new wind arrives. Today's surf is driven far more by wind than by swell size. As we do, we'll begin on the surf coast. The reefs around Torquay should offer another enjoyable winter session through the early morning before the front reaches the coast. Expect Torquay Point around 1 to 2 feet, George up 2 to 3 feet, Bells Beach and Winky generally 2 to 4 feet, the reefs west of Bells 3 with the occasional 4 foot set. Swell continues from the west-southwest, and while it's noticeably smaller than last week, there's still enough period for the occasional larger set to appear between quieter spells. The northwesterly wind is offshore for the surf coast early, producing clean faces and organised conditions. Once the wind swings west later this morning and into the afternoon, expect increasing bump, particularly on the more exposed reefs. The best surf window is from first light until the wind change arrives. Today's hazards remain relatively minor by winter standards, but the drop in tide will expose more reef around entries, and those occasional larger sets can still catch surfers sitting too wide. Overall, the surf coast earns a 7.5 out of 10 today. Across the peninsula, today starts with plenty of promise. The northwesterly wind is offshore across the open beaches, giving Gunnamatta and St Andrews and Portsea some of the cleanest conditions we've seen for several days. Expect surf generally in the 3 to 5 foot range, with occasional larger sets across the more exposed banks. The leftover groundswell still has enough period to produce quality walls, particularly where the sandbanks have held together after last week's run of swell. The downside comes later. Once the wind swings west, quality will fall away fairly quickly, and those clean morning peaks will become rougher and less organised. If you're heading to the Mornington Peninsula, the advice is simple: surf early. The rips are still active after a week of solid swell, even though the ocean looks much friendlier than it did only a few days ago. Overall, morning peninsula scores 8 out of 10 for the morning, easing back to around 5 out of 10 during the afternoon. Phillip Island follows a very similar pattern. Cape Woolamai should be producing 3 to 5 foot surf, while Forest Caves remains in that same range where the banks are working. Smiths Beach, YCW and Surfers Point should offer 2 to 3 feet with clean conditions under the early northwesterly breeze. Kilcunda and the more exposed Bass Coast beaches should hold a little more size, but will also feel the westerly change first. Like the Mornington Peninsula, today's best opportunity is early through to mid-morning. After lunch, expect the wind to roughen the surface and reduce overall quality. Overall, Phillip Island and the Bass Coast rate 7.5 out of 10 early, dropping through the afternoon. East Gippsland also begins the day in reasonable shape. Winds remain west-northwesterly, around 15 to 25 kilometres before tending west later today, bringing increasing showers and cooler conditions. Around Lake's entrance, expect 1 to 2 feet. 90 Mile Beach should produce 2 to 3 feet, while Cape Conran and the more exposed beaches towards Mallacoota should see 3 to occasionally 4 feet. Those larger wave estimates are based on the most exposed swell magnets rather than every beach. The best conditions should be through the morning before the westerly arrives, Overall, East Gippsland scored 6.5 out of 10 today. Today's tides continue the typical winter cycle with higher water early, a lower tide around the middle of the day, then a steady push through the afternoon. Around the surf coast, the lower tide will expose more reef and sharpen some takeoff zones. Across Mornington Peninsula and Phillip Island, it should help define the banks, although rip currents will remain active through the deeper gutters. The biggest hazard today isn't the size, it's the changing conditions. A line-up that looks clean at 8 o'clock this morning may look completely different by lunchtime once the wind swings west. If you're planning a longer session, keep an eye on the horizon for the weather. Wednesday looks like another step up in swell. Behind today's front, a fresh pulse of southern ocean energy is expected to build through the day, accompanied by west-to-southwesterly winds. While confidence is higher that surf size will increase, confidence is lower regarding the exact timing of the new swell's arrival, and then the better sets begin showing. Thursday should remain active, with the surf coast once again favoured as the protected reefs. Filter the larger swell. Looking into the weekend, confidence naturally decreases, but current guidance suggests a gradual easing trend after the middle of the week. Today's call is straightforward. If you're surfing, go early. Morning Peninsula and Phillip Island should offer excellent beach break conditions before the wind changes. The surf coast will remain clean through the morning and continue to provide the most reliable option once the front moves through, even though the waves are smaller. East Gippsland should also produce enjoyable surf early before the weather turns. Enjoy the clean conditions while they're there. The Southern Ocean isn't finished with us just yet. And that's the Victorian Surf Report for Tuesday the 28th of July. Thanks for watching Hey Hey It's Surfing. Have a great day, enjoy your surf, stay safe, run the approaching change, and I'll catch you tomorrow with another Victorian Surf Report. Hopefully Dickie's on board soon. He's